The following is a presentation of Geekster Media. Let's geek out.
So this time around, we have a beloved figure in the retro pop culture sphere who, in addition to running the blogs Branded in the 80s and Plastic Rocket Pop, is also the host of the long-running Cult Film Club podcast. It's Shawn Robare. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited we get to talk tonight. Now, just a little backstory about this segment is I've wanted to do a show like this for a while because I have a lot of folks I follow on social media or listen to their podcasts, and everybody has kind of a thing, right, that they're most known for that gets the attention, becomes, for lack of a better word, their brand, right? It's like,
For
oh, they're
sure.
this guy, they're this girl. But in my case, to some people, like, I guess I'm like the VHS collecting guy, or I'm the Wizard magazine guy, or for many years, like my family and friends, I'm the Kiss guy, right? But I also have a lot of other areas of interest that I don't present my knowledge of on any podcast or blog or anything, because I figure there's maybe less interest for those like niche topics, but you never know. But I knew that had to be the case for other people that I admire and am interested in. So I wanted to know, what fascinations were hiding behind their main thing. And so we have an opportunity to do that now. And the truth is, they may not have any other outlet for that. Maybe they do, but maybe it just hasn't been covered in depth. But now we give everybody a chance to geek out. I might learn something myself along the way. And Shawn, in your case, so you're very well known for your celebration of all things 80s, particularly your extensive collection of VHS copies of the Monster Squad, all the dead media formats, right, from all over the
Yeah,
world, in addition to other
quite a few.
memorabilia from that awesome movie. But now the stage is yours, and I invite you to finish the phrase, I never get to talk about.
I never get to talk about spores, molds, and fungus. No, I don't really get to talk about lunchboxes. It's weird. It's a thing that I've been collecting. I was probably like before I really got bitten by the nostalgia bug, like officially where I felt like I was seeking out 80s stuff. I was collecting lunchboxes. Not like a ton, but enough to be like, hey, you must like lunchboxes because you have, 20 or 30.
Now, where were
Yeah.
you coming across them in those early days? Was it eBay searches, or you find them at garage sales, antique stores? Like,
So it was mostly at first it was mostly eBay searches, and it was weird. It was really practical at first. So I was basically like looking for stuff to store stuff in, but I wanted something fun, right? And like I don't know, I gravitated. I was like I had an old lunchbox. I had an old I'm trying to remember one of the ones I had a Tick lunchbox, I think from the 90s. And that's what I put all my gaming stuff in. So like in the thermos I had all my dice, and then I put all my pens and pencils, miscellaneous stuff in the lunchbox, and that's what I would take with me to gaming sessions. And I just, I started accumulating a bunch of other small little things, collections of Garbage Pail Kids or whatnot, and I just kind of needed a place to store them. And I wanted something that was fun. I lived in an apartment at the time, so I didn't have a ton of room. So I wanted something that, I could stack, but also that I could kind of like organize. I don't know. Lunchboxes just jumped to mind. So I ended up like picking up a bunch, and they were super cheap back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I was just seeking out ones from my childhood that I always wanted but never had.
so
So
in
that's
your
kind of where it
apartment
started.
though, like where you were storing these storage devices, you just had stacks like in your
Yeah, it was
apartment.
basically like I had a closet with like all my kind of geeky stuff in it. It was like half of it was like a library with bookshelves, and then the other half was just stacks of stuff. And in an effort to try to organize the stuff, like it was like silly stuff. Like I had taken all my CDs out of my jewel cases and stuff like that and put them in a CD book, right? But I wanted to keep all the booklets from all the CDs. So it's like, where did I put all these booklets? I wasn't one of those guys that tried to like fit them behind the CDs or whatever and the book. It was just, yeah, it made those things too fat. So like getting a lunchbox was a perfect way. Like you could hold like 200 CDs inserts in a lunchbox. Put that one off to the side. So
And so
yeah, so
I'm curious, you mentioned that you were started specifically looking for lunchboxes you admired as a kid, but never
mhm.
got. So talk to me going back to when these vintage items were not vintage. They were very
Gotcha.
of the moment. What was it that was catching your attention, whether it was, the subject of the lunchbox or the
Mhm.
style of the lunchbox?
So it was a little bit of both. I had one metal lunchbox as a kid. It was Empire Strikes Back, and I absolutely adored it and loved it. And my mom put it in the dishwasher every night, and it rusted pretty quick.
And
So that
was
one
that
didn't
the Yoda
last.
one, the one that had Yoda on it, or no?
I think so. It was like the lightish blue one with like Yoda and Luke and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I had that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great one. I liked anything that was embossed. Like I can feel Yoda.
Yeah, they would pop out the characters on every
Hmm.
side. Like you could just feel
Yep.
it like on the it was like, wow.
It was so great. But again, my mom was really destructive with my lunchboxes. So I had the metal one, and I even kind of still took it to school for a while it was rusty. But then I gravitated to like she started picking up the plastic ones. But I didn't get like a new lunchbox every year. What ended up happening was, and I don't for the life of me, I can't even remember what the original design was or the sticker was on the front of the lunchbox, but she threw it through the dishwasher like 3 times and the sticker just came right off. So all I had was like that crappy like white sticker paper left over on my lunchbox, and I hated it. So like I would go to school and everyone else would have the most rad lunchboxes or whatever, and I didn't. So coveting became an important part of my social interaction when I was young. Definitely for
Wow.
lunchboxes too.
That's interesting. Yeah, because it's just like if mom had just like taken a wipe or a sponge of some sort, just yeah,
Something. I guess I was really messy too. I don't know.
got your
Also,
pudding
and
cup all over in there. Yeah.
yeah. So actually, this actually brings up a question. Like, I don't get to talk about lunchboxes. Do you mind if I throw a question at you?
Yeah.
Uh, were you a soup in the thermos kid,
I
or was it
was.
mainly okay? You
But this
were
this is the strange part of it. So, you know, you and I we commiserate on this. We relate to Horace in the Monster Squad. We were both
for
heavier
sure.
kids, right? And so
Hmm.
I at one point, my mom was doing Jenny Craig. She was not that big, but she thought she needed to be on Jenny Craig. And I wasn't technically old enough, but she's like, "You talk like you're concerned about your weight. Do you want to come do this?" So she got them to allow me to get signed up on Jenny Craig. So to portion out the meals, that was they would give you these little cans, right? You had your schedule
Hmm.
each day what you were supposed to eat. And so she would put the ravioli or whatever it was that was like this
And
like low fat, portioned amount into my thermos. Yeah.
I was definitely the ravioli, the Chef Boyardee ravioli,
Yeah.
and the thermos kid. I was the sirloin burger, chunky soup kid. So I was very self-conscious about that as a kid because I always felt like my lunch smelled. And it's also this thing where like it goes into the thermos and yeah, it kind of stays warm, but it gets basically like lukewarm. I don't know. And my mom put like metal spoons stuff in my lunch,
Just
stuff that
claying
I
it
had to
all
bring
over.
out. Yeah. It was just like I just felt like I was definitely uniquely not like the other kids when it came to my lunch. It's very rare that I got like sandwiches and stuff. It was usually soup.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. See, like you're talking about, you didn't have like a new one every year, and it did feel like there
Yeah.
were those kids that always had like whatever the latest trend was, they had it. I had two metal lunch boxes, and the
Hmm.
first one I had was Marvel superheroes, and then
Okay.
I had the other one was the He-Man, the Masters of the Universe. The
The dark
Yoda
blue
one I
one.
actually got later, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I picked that up later. But then like after that, my mom just went to paper bags, and then I was a paper bag kid for the rest of
Yeah.
my life. So.
Yeah. I remember distinctly like that it was between fifth and sixth grade where the lunch boxes stopped and the paper bags started. And for some reason, I didn't like carrying the paper bag with me. On the positive side, my mom was also like always wrapping a can of soda in foil and putting that in my lunch, right? But it made the bag soggy by midday. So this is a horrible story. This I had to walk about 3/4 of a mile to get to my bus stop. And what I would do is my mom would give me my lunch in the morning, and I would walk up to the bus stop. And halfway, there was an area where like our little subdivision wasn't finished yet, and there was like this little cul-de-sac that had a place for 3 houses, but it was basically just a construction site, mostly mud and debris. And I would just chuck my bag into the ditch, and like over the years like they accumulated and like it was ridiculous. Like I don't know how my parents never found out. I'm hoping my mom never found out that I used to do that. But again, at that point it wasn't soup or anything. It wasn't even sandwiches. I don't even remember what it was that was in my lunch.
What
It
did
was
you eat?
probably like
Just
Pop
save up your
Tarts and
allowance money and buy the school lunch, or?
so what I would do is I would ask for, or I would use my allowance money, and I would in the sixth grade it was a pack of Dunkin' Sticks every day from the vending machine. And then in the seventh grade, it was getting one of those like strawberry shortcake bars. They had like a little ice cream booth, and that was lunch every day. And that was also like a frugal way for me to save money for comics. So at some point, I got my mom to stop giving me bag lunches, just give me money. And by just eating like an ice cream bar or something every day, I had enough left over where by the end of the week, I had plenty to get all the comics in my pull box at the comic store.
So I want to talk about this a little bit, just from the perspective of, most people remember a lunchbox, like they're thinking, oh yeah, I like this character, so I got this lunchbox. But we talked a little bit about this, there was the metal period of the 80s,
Hmm.
and really before, like if you go on eBay, like there's stuff go back to the 50s, like
Yeah.
Superman and all these characters, and those sell for thousands, like these
Yes.
old ones. But then like you say, late 80s, early 90s, now it's getting into just plastic with a sticker on it. And then
Hmm.
so we obviously lost a lot of the craftsmanship of going from the metal, where it was literally, graphics on every side, and like we were
Yep.
saying, embossed, so you could feel the characters, the outline of the Muppets characters or whoever it was. And
Hmm.
then from there you end up, okay, well, now I have this plastic thing, the thermos has some graphics on it, so I get a little extra. But like in your collecting, have you
Hmm.
decided to go for metal, or are you just going for plastic? Like, where are you at?
So I've gone for metal a couple times. The biggest thing with metal is on eBay, sometimes it's really hard to tell if things are just dirty or rusty. And I just don't want to pick something up that's rusty because there's not really a lot of ways you can kind of fix that. Um, and I like seeing these things like in hand, like going to antique stores and stuff like that. But my luck with finding decent lunchboxes at decent prices that are metal is few and far between. There's a really cool antique shop near me in a town called Havre de Grace, and they used to have like an entire wall of like, I don't know, like 90 or 100 different lunchboxes. Most of them didn't really jump out at me. Some of them were like the more like 60s and 70s kind of stuff. But then they had like a pristine brand new Battle of the Planets um lunchbox, but still with the tags, the Aladdin tags on it and everything. It's like $200. And it's just like, I don't know. Like I'm very frugal when it comes to the stuff that I collect. Even the Monster Squad stuff, I have a ceiling, and I try not to go over the ceiling. So in my journeys, basically, I've only ever really found one good metal lunchbox, and that's this one. It's a Muppets lunchbox, and it was around the $30 mark, and I ended up going full in on this because I wanted so in 2007, I was tabling at Wizard World with Brandon in the 80s. Like I was like a year into the website, and I had a friend who was tabling, so he invited me to like share the table and everything. And I wanted a very visually stunning setup. And I had made a bunch of buttons and stickers, and I thought it would be really cool to sell the buttons and stickers like out of the lunchbox. So I decided to take the plunge, and $30 wasn't too bad. So I definitely got my first like collectible metal lunchbox that way. And right after I met my wife, one of her first gifts to me was a vintage Gremlins lunchbox. So, and again, just art everywhere. It's so great. It's so cute. I don't
That
know,
is
but yeah,
beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
a
In great shape. Like that's the thing.
yeah. This one was
Like
this
the
one was really nice
rust.
shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other one that I kind of again, I don't really have a lot of luck with finding stuff that I want. There was a Knight Rider lunchbox at another flea market by me, and this is just a silly story. The guy had like $50 on it, and it was kind of rusty, but it wasn't too bad. So I offered him $25. I was like, will you take 25? He's like, absolutely not. Stomped his foot on the floor, like, I will not sell that to you for $25. I was like, okay. And then I've been coming back year after year after year, and that lunchbox is still there. He's never sold the lunchbox. He's brought it down to like 30, 35 or whatever. And I refuse. Like every time I go back in, I offer him less. It's like, how about $20? How about 15? One of these days, I'm hoping he's just gonna give in and be like, "Will you just take the lunchbox and show the lunchbox?" But yeah, so for metal lunchboxes, that's kind of where I'm at with those.
Okay. Interesting. Now, so you say you had your collection that when you
Hmm.
started way back when. Did you
Yeah.
those? Has it been building on top of that, or did you sell those off at some point?
So I never sold them off. They just sort of found their way out of my collection for reasons, whether it was me handing down gaming stuff to somebody, and so I just kind of kept it all in the Tick lunchbox and let them have that. Some of them, when I was moving between apartments, I had a fire in an apartment at one point, and even though we didn't directly have the fire in ours, we had a lot of smoke damage and water damage, and it was just it was just a mess, and so a lot of the stuff just kind of went into the trash, unfortunately. I've kind of had to like rebuild my collection over time. When I left, I lived in Georgia for the longest time, and when I moved up to Maryland to live with my wife or my girlfriend at the time, I got rid of a metric ton of the stuff that I had because I had to drive it up in a car, and I had like one of those like crates that you can pack and whatever, and they'll ship for you. I just I just ended up paring everything down to the least amount possible. She lived in a townhome at the time. I just didn't want to like bring a two-bedroom apartment's worth of stuff up to her. So yeah, so I kind of pared down, and then like slowly I've been like kind of rebuilding my lunchbox collection
So when
over
you
the past
think,
decade.
like when you go back to that, those stacks, when you're thinking of that collection you had, what are the ones that, are still in mind to you that are so vivid? You're like, oh, this one was great. This one was great.
So most of them were plastic because again, I used to be able to get those for like $4 on eBay back in the day. But like I had like the A Team, I had Silverhawks and Mask. Trying to think. I had a WWF lunchbox. I was trying to get them in like various colors too, if I could. And there was some that I coveted that even back then were kind of expensive that I never really got my hands on, but I always kind of wanted like the Goonies lunchbox is pretty rare.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that existed.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'd think it'd be metal too for the time
Yeah.
frame, but it was plastic. But yeah, it very rarely pops up on eBay, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that I will probably never see in the wild. But yeah, those are some of the big ones. Like Silverhawks was a huge cartoon to me as a kid. So that was one that I felt like I had to have. And there was a period when I had first started branded in the 80s where I was like going super heavy into stickers. And in my sticker collecting and mania to try to find content for the blog, I stumbled upon people that were selling the original stickers for the Aladdin plastic lunchboxes that had never been like they were fresh off the factory, had never been applied to a lunchbox. And I thought it was the weirdest thing to be floating around in the collector's market because it's like, how do you get a hold of that unless someone in your family was an employee there or something? Like, how does that get out into the public? But I ended up getting like a Voltron sticker that way and a Transformers sticker. So I had like lunchbox stickers, and I would like keep them in a sticker book. But they didn't have the attached lunchbox. I was always thinking like maybe I should just get a super cheap like dollar crap lunchbox and just put the sticker over it and make my own. I don't
So
know.
let me ask you about the Transformers one. Was it this one?
So
Or
it wasn't that one, which that's a great one.
yeah,
I love that classic back of the box art.
yeah.
The one that I had was the one with Metroplex,
Oh
where
yeah.
he's transformed, and like it's more like the Transformers the movies characters are kind of driving off or flying off of Metroplex. Um, and then the Voltron one was pretty standard. I think it's just Voltron standing there. But yeah, those were really cool. And then like now, when I'm collecting, I'm more so collecting these things for the fact that they're lunchboxes or collectibles or whatnot. And I've kind of been like rethinking, do I want vintage or do I want stuff that's just cool?
Hmm.
So I've kind of been switching gears a little bit from vintage, and I would say like 10, maybe 12 years ago, there's a Ross who has a company called 8-Bit Zombie has been manufacturing his own lunchboxes. Well, not manufacturing. He's buying a bunch of bulk lunchboxes that he finds and making his own lunchbox stickers to make his own collections. And I've been focusing on picking those up. They're a little bit high end in terms of the price and stuff like that. But they're like amazing designs. He gets an artist named Matthew Skiff to do these for him. So they feel very vintage and everything, but he always fills them with all different kinds of characters. So it's like you're basically getting a smorgasbord for your lunchbox. And then he always throws in a brand new character that he creates specifically for the lunchbox. So this one has like a G.I. Joe inspired character. Um, And then he's been putting out a series of these. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them, and I have 4 of them. So I've been trying to pick those up as he's been releasing them. Let's see. I think here's the first one. Yeah, this is the one that's got Thrashor, his He-Man
And Mr.
uh,
T.
character.
Oh man.
Yeah, Mr. T. You got King Hippo over here, and My Pet Monster. It's there's Castle Grayskull in the background. The other one had Snake Mountain. And then he did a one that I really absolutely love, which is a Halloween themed one, and it's got the real Ghostbusters characters, but they're dressed up like Teen Wolf and Beetlejuice and Reanimator
Is
and
Winston Freddy?
yes, Winston's Freddy.
That's
You got
awesome.
Sam Hain in the back here, Samhain, and the Boogeyman. So it's I don't know, it's just so great. Um, Here's another one of his. I think this was the last one he did. This was sort of like finishing out the series. This one he went full like
Got like a hologram background?
yep. But again, he brought back Thrashor for this one, but he's got like Casey Jones and Warduke, and I don't know, it's a thing of beauty.
And well, and I love the font is the New Adventures of He-Man font. That's
Yes,
awesome.
exactly. They're very the attention to detail is amazing. And on that line, and I've been friends with Ross for a long time, and I'm not gonna say that I influenced him, but he kind of veered off. He still wanted to do lunchboxes, but he was sort of veering away from doing the Saturday morning thing, and he started doing lunchboxes that should have existed. And this is 100% up my alley. And his first one is, of course, Monster Squad.
I remember seeing this and I was just like, that is so amazing. Yes. Why
It's
did we
so
never get
brilliant,
that cartoon? Yeah, everything.
right? Oh my God. And I love that Matthew Skiff did it in sort of like the Scooby-Doo kind of design. But you got all the monsters there, you got all the kids. It's the first time you kind of like see everyone together on a picture. Like even in the promotional art for Monster Squad, someone's usually left off. It's either one of the monsters or it's Phoebe or something like that. Um, so yeah, so I was oh my God, I was so stoked when he released that. I ended up buying 3 of them.
So back in the day, the manufacturers, you had Aladdin, you had Thermos, and now 8-Bit Zombie.
And now we hit zombie. Yep.
Very
It's
nice.
good. Yep.
So as you're hunting around these days and you're thinking, okay, if there is a vintage one I want to collect, like, do you have like a top 5 list? Like, is there one where you're just like, I want this one back or this is still one I never found for all these
Yeah.
years?
I do have a top 5. I would say my top 5 is pretty standard, nothing too crazy, but like the Goonies plastic lunchbox is on boxes on there. There's a Universal Monsters lunchbox that they made in the I want to say the early 70s. It's green and it's one of the metal ones that's got stuff on every side. That one tends to get snapped up really quickly whenever it pops up on eBay, and it's usually like $500. But it's on the list. There's a Munsters lunchbox. I'm also kind of like a closet Munsters fan. Trying to think. Battle of the Planets is a big one. I remember being really into that cartoon and didn't know a lot of other people that were watching that. Um, Gotcha Man, if you know the original anime. Um, yeah, I think I guess more. I have more of like a top 4
Yeah.
because
Hey.
those are the ones that I seek out like regularly. Um, but when I do go vintage, these days I want an angle to it. Like I want something about it that speaks to me beyond just the artwork. So the last 2 that I have here for visual props, this one is a mask lunchbox and it's pretty rough. Chad at the horror movie barbecue, he found this one for me. But the thing about this lunchbox, and it's something that I look for when I do look for vintage lunchboxes, is I want something that has some personality to it. And by personality, I mean a kid who had to stick all his own stickers
Yeah.
to really sell it. And so Garbage Pail Kids, when I find those on a lunchbox, I really want to buy them. And then this one also had a Giggles Cookies sticker. It was such a random but awesome find on that. So when I come across stuff like this, I tend to try to buy it. There's one that I'm kicking myself that I didn't pick up. I've made jokes about it on Twitter before. but there was a Crest lunchbox, and it was during that time when they had like the Crest where you would squeeze it out of the tube and it would come out like in a star, and
Yeah.
it would have glitter in it, and they had like these globular toothpaste characters that were sort of the mascots or
With the
whatever.
sunglasses, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and there's a lunchbox where they're surfing a wave of toothpaste. I think they might be on toothbrushes. And on the one hand, it's like, this is like, what kid had the Crest toothbrush, the toothpaste lunchbox? It's like, oh my God. But I found one at a thrift store and it had Garbage Pail Kids and everything stuck all over it. For some reason I passed it up and I didn't buy it. Now I'm kicking myself because it's gone into the ether. Similarly, there's a Poland Springs water. It's a very 90s plastic lunchbox. It's hunter green. It's very 90s, but it's like extreme fun, and it's like spelled out in like a spilled water font, and it's like, what kid brought the water lunchbox to school, and did he survive? I had to assume that was a rough recess for him the day he brought that. Uh, and then where did I put it? Oh, here's so interesting stories. So this is the crown jewel of my collection right now. And this is purely me looking for other stuff on eBay, other lunchboxes or whatever. And I stumbled upon a lunchbox and it offered me a mystery. And the mystery is worth more than the lunchbox. And I've written about this on my site. But it's the the amazing Cave Warriors lunchbox.
And there's a Mattel like
It's
insignia?
not Mattel. This is
Oh,
actually the I don't know if it'll focus in on that. It's I can't read. Decca is the brand. So there was Aladdin, there was Thermos, and there was Decca.
okay.
So Decca did some of the mask stuff. They did a lot of the stuff they did was actually like plate and fork sets for kids that had character stuff on them. But they did branch out into lunchboxes. Um, the thing about this is, what the hell is this?
Yeah. What is this
This
show?
this is from the 80s. It's marked I think it's marked 88. It's either 87 or 88. It looks like a He-Man knockoff. I just it was like, I've never heard of this. It's very rare. I've been doing the nostalgia thing for 25 years. It's like it's very rare that something pops up where it's like, hey, did you know this cartoon existed? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I hate that. It's very jaded, but it's just like when you're steeped in this stuff for as long, right? I'm sure you've
Yeah.
felt the same thing. It's very rare that you stumble upon something brand new where you're like, oh my God, what is that? So I started digging, and what I was basically able to turn up was there was a guy who was basically trying to pitch cartoon packages to companies, and his idea was like, I'm going to create all the associated merchandise, and then I'm assuming he had like a pilot script or something commissioned as well. And he would approach companies and be like, look, here's the package deal. It's just like when Transformers or G.I. Joe came out, you can do the comic, you can do the lunchbox, you can do the this, you can do the that. And he had this artwork commissioned, and he went so far as to commission separate artwork for a thermos. And when I looked up on the US patent website, he had two properties like this. He had this, and he had Very Berry Best Friends, which was a straight up strawberry shortcake ripoff. So he was trying to do the girls' market and the boys' market, and like that's it. That's it. That's all that there is out there. Um, I've been trying to track this guy down. I want to interview him so badly. And I want to know like what was running through his mind when he was designing this stuff, because some of his designs, this I don't know if this is the hero or the villain, but it's this awesome lizard creature who has ghoulies for hands. Like, what is going on here? This is like a kid designed this. And then this guy is like covered in spider armor with fur, and I don't know what kind of weapon he's got. It's some kind of glaive or something. I don't know. It's amazing. And it looks like it's ripped straight out of a cartoon. Uh, so stuff like this that presents a mystery and is more interesting as like a conversation starter. This is the kind of stuff I pick up now.
That's amazing. That is so cool. Wow. You never know
Yeah,
what you're gonna find on a lunchbox.
you really don't. You really don't.
Oh, speaking of which, I have to say, so I pick them up when I can find them here, and some of my friends have, also Chad gave me that Transformers one in a trade.
Okay.
Of course, I love the
Oh,
Shadow
the Shadow,
1994 movie,
yes.
so I have one of those. But I also, have a Ghostbusters 2 one, which is unique because it still features the Twin Towers
Oh
at that
wow.
time as the Ecto one is driving by and
It sure does, yeah.
lightning in the background.
That one's cool too because the only Ghostbusters 2 one that I've seen is that Hardy's white lunch pail.
Which I also have right here. Yeah. So I actually
That's the one I'm more familiar with.
I got that from the same friend who got me the other one.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, at N Logan
That's
77
awesome.
on
Yeah.
X if you want to check it out. So I have those, but the thing is, the weirdest ones I have found over the years, because like, some of these I keep, I sell, like I've had Alf lunchboxes and those sell pretty well. I had
Yep.
a laser tag, one that was like based on the cartoon. It still had the tags and the thermos and everything that sold.
Nice.
But the weirdest one was Hammerman,
Oh, wow, the MC Hammer.
the MC Hammer cartoon from the early 90s. And it was all purple, and it looked straight out
Just
of nice. It was kind of in rough shape too, but like the
mhm,
sticker was still okay. And that one sold for a good amount, but I was just like, I never expected to find Hammerman in the wild.
right. Oh my
Oh,
God. It's almost like when you buy that one, you don't get a thermos, but you get a pair of his pants like all folded up inside of the lunchbox.
oh,
But with all the graphics, right? Of all the cartoon graphics on it. Man.
absolutely, with all his nemesis and the shoes and the grandpa and everything else. So,
That makes me wonder if there was like I wonder if there was like New Kids ones like with like the comic book artwork or something
oh,
like
there had,
that.
because there was the cartoon
Yeah.
series. It was probably, yeah, based on one or the other, but it might have been the Harvey comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's stuff like that that I know there's been lunchboxes that I've looked for that I don't think exist. Like I would love a Count Duckula, right? But I don't know if the UK does lunchboxes the same way that we do here in the US.
hmm.
I think there's like a I think there's more of like a school lunch, like a more like they lean more way harder onto the school lunch program there. So I don't know how many kids are bringing their own sack lunches or whatever. Um, but yeah, there's definitely properties like again, the Goonies was a surprise to me when I found that one because it makes complete sense. But there's similar like 80s branded stuff that like are very kid centric that like I'm pretty sure don't have lunchboxes. Like I doubt there's a Cloak and Dagger lunchbox. Um, like I don't know, the Manhattan Project. I don't think there's a Never Ending Story one. I can
My
I can
science
imagine
project.
I can imagine the bottom of the Never Ending Story one. It would have Atreyu pulling Artax out of the Swamp of Sadness.
Well, and I wonder, because I'm sure there wasn't a Back to the Future movie. I mean, maybe for part three, but like maybe for the cartoon, did they do it?
I think there might be one for the cartoon.
Yeah.
Um, but you'd have to check me on that. Like that's one of those ones. That's one of those franchises that I adore and I love, but I don't seek out vintage stuff for it, which is weird. Um, I get the novelizations. I go that way, but I don't really look for like the merch, the branded merch and stuff like that. But you're right. That's another one where it's like that's so kid centric, and there was a whole series of them. It's like I still can't believe that we didn't get a trading card set until the second one. I don't know. That's weird. Same thing with Ghostbusters.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, so you kind of got your dream replica box with the Monster Squad one that Ross
Yeah.
put together. Next time you talk to him, you gotta tell him there's an animated opening to Troop Beverly Hills. Just grab those graphics, put it on a lunchbox.
Oh my God. I can see the I can see Matthew Skiff's animation drawings for Shelley Long right now.
It'd be
I can see
amazing.
that. Yeah, that would be amazing. That's
Oh,
one, if nothing else, you need to find who he uses to get the die cut stickers
just make my own, my
and
one
make
off.
your own. Yeah,
It'd be for me and Kim Kardashian. I'll send her one.
there you go. Actually,
Oh,
let's say that reminds me. I'm just gonna pop one of these open. One of these had miscellaneous crap in it. Not that one. Sorry.
so
I still keep
are you
miscellaneous.
still using the lunchboxes in your collection for storage these days?
I am. I still use them for storage. Just in case you need a Jim Carrey from Once Bitten sticker from from Ibutrab Artworks or a Pac-Man read along. But Ross was super kind at one point, and he sent me extra lunchbox stickers for a couple of the ones, the early ones. So We need to make this happen.
Absolutely.
We need to make the Troop Beverly Hills thing happen. What color would you pick?
Ooh,
Did
I
they
think,
make beige?
well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you would think pink, and you're like, no, it's got to be beige. It's got to be the khaki,
It's
baby.
got to be the khaki, right? Yeah. Huh.
But maybe when you open
Making
it
me
up
think.
on the inside, it's like gold and shiny, like her outfit.
Like her personality, and
Yeah. Oh,
and
but
instead
Shawn,
of
I mean, this has
oh yeah,
been so fun to deep dive into lunchboxes.
I am so happy that I got to nerd out about about this stuff.
That's the name of the game over here. So again, if you're listening here, if you have a topic that you want to geek out about, you can certainly reach out to me, hojucoolander@gmail.com, or just find me, DM me on all the socials at hojucoolander, HOJUKOOLANDER. I know, it's crazy. It's where I'm at. I can't change it now. But Shawn, if people want to find your main thing, or they want to find you get deeper into lunchboxes on some of your blogs, where can they find you?
Best place to find me, pretty much everything that I do is Plastic Rocket Pop. From there, there's a hub to, I think I have a podcast hub where I get into like the Cult Film Club and Crestwood House and all the stuff that I do. But basically, all my writing's there. Everything from Branded that I care to port over is there. So it's the new home for everything me.
Excellent. Well, very cool. And of course, you can find us for now on the retronetwork.com, the home of Geekster, soon to be geekster.com. But stay tuned for more of these opportunities as we find more folks to geek out with. But thanks for checking us out.
This has been a presentation of Geekster Media.